on red alert. 3 bombs set to explode at Lambeau, and nobody is talking about what really matters. First, our psychological warfare weapon on special teams has the same vertebra injury that retired a Hall of Famer in 2012, and the Packers know it. Second, the $66 million wall faces a trio of serial killers with 23 sacks in 4 games, and a detail in his left grip gives them away. Third, the blocking surgeon hiding our sins is 2 mistakes away from becoming the scapegoat. This is no theory. Leaked practice film shows broken timing in crucial snaps. Tunsil sweating unpracticed. There are protocols and a tight end limping after last night's drills. The choice is yours. Subscribe and find out how to save the season before Thursday, or be the fan who later yells, "Why didn't they warn us?" The like button is 1 click away from not missing out on the rawest analysis I'll do this year before they delete it. Folks, I have to tell you something that's been keeping me up since Sunday. Minute 8:42 of the second quarter, Commanders losing 7-3, 4th down at our 35-yard line. Tress Way gets ready for what should be a routine. Punt, one he's executed perfectly for 12 straight seasons. Suddenly Abdul Carter comes like a bullet from the right side, partially blocks the ball, and Way, trying to follow the play, falls backward in a way that chilled my blood. Did you see Way's face when he got up? I've been covering this team for years, and never have I seen that expression on our most reliable punter's face. He touched his lower back immediately, and though he finished the game, anyone familiar with body language knew something was wrong. Here are the stats to understand why I'm in full panic mode about this situation. Tress Way in 2024, an average of 48.3 yards per punt, only 3 balls inside the opponent's 20-yard line, 0 unintentional touchbacks. This man is a precision machine. In the last 3 years, Way has been directly responsible for at least 2.1 points per game in field position advantage. Do you get what that means? In a 17-game season, we're talking over 35 points difference. But here's the truly terrifying part. Way is also our holder for field goals. Matt Gay has a 94.7% success rate on extra points and 89.2% on field goals with Way as holder. Do you know his percentage with the other holders during preseason? 73.1%. The difference is abysmal. Now comes the part where Adam Peters has to prove why he's an elite GM, or we realize we're winging it. Mitch Wishnowsky, newly signed to the practice squad, isn't just any available punter. This man has a history. With our team that seems straight out of a movie, Wishnowsky and Matt Gay were teammates at the University of Utah for 2 full seasons, 2015 to 2016. During that time, Wishnowsky held every single field goal and extra point for Gay. Their chemistry was so perfect that Gay had a 94.8% success rate those 2 seasons, the best percentage of his college career. But here's the problem. That was 9 years ago. Do you think that chemistry holds after almost a decade without playing together? Gay has been with Way since 2022. They've developed their own signals, their own timing, their own work rhythm. Let me explain something that mainstream analysts don't understand about the specialist game. The relationship between kicker and holder isn't just grab the ball and set it straight. There are 47 micro movements that have to be perfect in 1.3 seconds for the field goal to be successful. Way and Gay have developed a system where Way receives the snap, rotates the ball exactly 1/4 turn to the right. Now, because Gay prefers the seams in that position, places it with a 7-degree backward tilt and maintains the contact point exactly 2.3 inches off the ground. All this in less than 1.3 seconds, because otherwise the rush gets there. Does Wisnowski know these details? Has he had time to practice these micro coordinations with Gay? Because I'll tell you something, if we need a field goal to win on Thursday and Wisnowski is 0.2 seconds slower than Way, that kick gets blocked and we lose the game. Now imagine this, Thursday night, Lambeau Field, 78. 1,000 fans cheering, 34 degrees temperature, 12 northwest winds, and your backup kicker holder has to step in the most crucial moment of the game. Have you been to Lambeau when it's like this? The noise is so intense you literally can't hear your own thoughts. Dan Quinn says Way is day to day, but I've been in enough practices to know what that really means. When a coach says day to day on Tuesday for a Thursday game, it means the player has a 50-50 chance of playing. And with a lower back injury, which is notoriously unpredictable, those odds could change at any moment. Here's something no one is considering. What if Way says he can play, but isn't at 100%? A back injury directly affects flexibility, reaction speed, and confidence. If Way hesitates even 0.1 seconds in his movements, that translates to worse punts, slower holders, and possibly blocked field goals. And here's the truly terrifying part. If Way gets more injured during the game, we don't have a prepared emergency holder. Do you know who would have to step in? Probably Tyler Owens, our long snapper who has never been a holder in a professional game. Imagine that nightmare in the fourth quarter of a tight game. I have a theory that sounds crazy, but hear me out. What if this injury to Way is not as accidental as it seems? The Packers have one of the best special teams in the league. Casey and Nixon returned punts for touchdown last year, and their punt coverage is among the top 5 in the NFL. Is it possible Way is being extra careful with his body because he knows the Packers are going all out to block punts and needs to be 100% to handle that pressure? Because if so, we're talking about a professional thinking 3 plays ahead, which is good. But it also means the injury could be more serious than they're admitting. Here's my most controversial prediction. If Tress Way can't play Thursday, we're going to lose by exactly 3 to 6 points. Not directly because of Wisnowski, but because the lack of chemistry between him and Gay is going to cost us at least 1 field goal. And the field position difference will give Green Bay 2 to 3 additional short drives. The Packers are too good at capitalizing on those opportunities. Jordan Love is completing 71.4% of his passes in drives starting past midfield, compared to 58.9% in drives starting in their own territory. Every yard of field position we lose multiplies exponentially against this team. Folks, you need to understand the magnitude of what's at stake Thursday with Laramie Tunsil. We're not just talking about $66 million in contracts. We're talking about trading our 2025 second-round pick and paying $11.52 million guaranteed for a 30-year-old tackle who has to justify that investment immediately. Adam Peters didn't make this move for Tunsil to be good. He did it for him to be dominant, elite, the kind of left tackle that can completely neutralize the right side of the opponent's pass rush. Because that was the only way this investment made financial and strategic sense. Everyone's celebrating. That 84.1 rating from Pro Football Focus against the Giants, but you need to understand the real context. The Giants had only 1.5 sacks on Sunday. Do you know how many sacks they had all 2024? 35. They're the number 28 team in the league in sacks. Protecting against the Giants is like a warm-up exercise. Now let's look at the real numbers that matter. Brian Burns, the best pass rusher on the Giants, had 0 pressures against Tunsil in 28 one-on-one snaps. Perfect. But Burns had only 8.5 sacks all 2024. For comparison, Micah Parsons had 14 sacks and Rashawn Gary had 11.5. We're talking about a completely different level of competition. The Packers' pass rush isn't just good. It's absolutely lethal in a way most people don't understand. Let me break it down. Rashawn Gary, 11.5 sacks in 2024. But here's the terrifying fact. 89% of his pressures came from speed to power moves from the outside edge. Exactly the kind of rush that has troubled veteran left tackles in the past. Gary stands 6'5", weighs 277 pounds, and runs a 40 in 4.58. It's a combination of size, speed, and technique few tackles can handle. Lucas Van Ness, last year as a rookie, had only 4 sacks, but had 34 pressures and 8 QB hits. Why does that matter? Because Van Ness is the one who comes second rush when Gary's busy with double coverage. If Tunsil is left alone with Gary, Van Ness goes straight for Josh Connolly Jr. If we send help to Connolly, Gary remains one-on-one with Tunsil. Micah Parsons. Here comes the nuclear bomb. The Packers just traded for Parsons 2 weeks ago, and this man is possibly the best pass rusher in the whole NFL when healthy. 14 sacks last year. But more importantly, 103 pressures in just 14 games. That's 7.3 pressures per game. He's an alien. Here's what the Packers are going to do, and I know this because I've studied their film the past 3 weeks. They're going to constantly rotate between Gary, Van Ness, and Parsons on Tunsil's side. They're not going to let him get used to one rusher's tendencies. First series, Gary comes with a speed rush from wide. Second series, Van Ness with a power move from tight. Third series, Parsons with a spin move from any angle. Fourth series, Gary and Parsons on a double stunt. It's a tactical nightmare that requires Tunsil to be perfect technically on every single snap. And here's the most diabolical part. Jeff Hafley, the Packers defensive coordinator, comes from running Boston College's defense, where he specialized in creating pre-snap confusion for veteran tackles. He's going to use motion, shifts, and false counts to try and make Tunsil commit timing errors. Now comes the part where I have to be honest about Tunsil's limitations, because not everything is perfect. In his 2024 film with Houston, Tunsil allowed 3 sacks and 23 pressures. Where were most? In speed to power rushes from the outside, exactly Rashawn Gary's specialty. The specific technical problem. When Tunsil faces rushers who can convert speed to power at the last moment, he sometimes over-adjusts his set initially, leaving him vulnerable to the inside counter move. Gary has converted 73% of his speed-to-power rushes into pressures when tackles overset. Imagine this scenario. First drive of the game, 3rd and 7 at our own 23. Jaden is in shotgun, needs 2.8 seconds. To complete his progression, Gary comes with a speed rush, Tunsil oversets anticipating the outside move. Gary converts to power and reaches Daniels in 2.3 seconds. Sack, safety, 2-0 for the Packers before we can blink. Now Jaden's nervous. The offensive line's nervous. Dan Quinn has to start sending additional protections, which means fewer receivers in routes, which means a more predictable offense, which means more pressure everywhere. It's a vicious circle that can ruin an entire game. Here's something most aren't considering. Tunsil's never played a Thursday night football as a Commander. It's his primetime debut with his new team in one of the most intimidating stadiums in the NFL against one of the best pass rushers he'll face all year. The mental pressure is real. Lambeau Field on Thursday night with the entire country watching, knowing you cost $66 million and a second-round pick. If you make an early mistake, that stadium's gonna go crazy, and the pressure multiplies exponentially. But here's the flip side, and why I think Tunsil can have a historic game. This man has faced elite pass rushers his entire career. He's blocked Khalil Mack, Von Miller, TJ Watt, Myles Garrett. He's not a rookie who's gonna be intimidated. More importantly, Tunsil's had 3 full weeks to study film with our coaches. He's worked with the offensive line on specific protections for this type of situation. And technically, when Tunsil's at his best, he's virtually unstoppable in pass protection sets. Here's my specific technical prediction for Tunsil's performance. He'll allow exactly 1 sack and 4 pressures, but will completely neutralize 8 to 10 rushes that would normally be problems for other tackles. The sack's gonna come in a situation where Gary pulls off a perfect speed-to-power conversion in the 3rd quarter, but other than that, Tunsil will dominate. Why am I so specific? Because I've seen enough Tunsil film to know he always allows exactly 1 big play against elite pass rushers, but other than that, he's a wall. And against this level of competition, that might be enough to win. When the Commanders gave John Bates 3 years and $21 million with $7 million signing bonus and $11.52 million guaranteed, I remember exactly the reactions on social media. $21 million for a tight end who had 28 receptions last year. Adam Peters went crazy. That money should go to a wide receiver. What those people didn't understand is they were thinking in 90s football. In the modern NFL, especially in the system Dan Quinn wants to implement, a tight end who can block elite is more valuable than most wide receivers. And John Bates isn't just good at blocking, he's elite. Here are the stats that are going to blow your mind about why Bates is worth every penny. In 2024, Bates had a 91.2% success rate in pass protection blocks when one-on-one against edge rushers. To put that in perspective, the league average for tight ends is 73.4%. Travis Kelce, the best tight End in the world has 84.1%. In run blocking, Bates generated 4.7 extra yards per carry when blocking at the second level. What does that mean? That when our running backs clear the line of scrimmage and Bates is blocking linebacker or safety, those runs go from 3 to 4 yard gains to 8 to 9 yard gains. Minute 3:17 of the third quarter against the Giants. 3rd and 2 at our own 8-yard line. We're against our own goal line, a situation where historically our offense choked. Dan Quinn calls 12 personnel, 1 RB, 2 TE, and Bates lines up as a wide tight end on the strong side. The snap comes, and here's where Bates shows why he's special. First move, perfect chip against the edge rusher, Kayvon Thibodeau, to help Josh Connolly Jr.'s second move, clean release to the second level. Third move, devastating block against the linebacker, Bobby Okereke, that opens the perfect gap for Jackery Krosky-Merritt. Result, 47-yard run that completely changed the game's momentum. Without that perfect block from Bates at the second level, that run would have been a 3 to 4 yard maximum. What makes Bates truly special isn't just that he can block. It's that he can do 3 different types of blocking on the same drive, depending on what the situation requires. Pass protection blocking. When he comes as a chip on third downs, Bates can give the tackle 0.3 to 0.4. Extra seconds of protection. That doesn't sound like much, but in the modern NFL, that's the difference between a completion and a sack. Run blocking on the line. As an inline blocker, Bates can handle defensive ends weighing over 200. 80 pounds on power runs. His hand placement technique is nearly perfect, and his leverage is textbook open field blocking. This is where Bates is truly elite. He can run 20 yards downfield and block safeties or linebackers in space in a way very few tight ends can. Dan, Quinn and Cliff Kingsbury designed the offensive system specifically to leverage Bates's skills. Here's the genius. They use motion packaging, where Bates can shift from inline blocker to flexed receiver to wing back in the same formation. This creates massive problems for defenses because they don't know how to prepare. Are they going to put a linebacker to cover Bates in case it's a route? Are they going to add an extra safety for run support? Are they going to rush extra because they assume Bates will block? The pre-snap confusion Bates generates with his versatility is worth millions on its own. Here's something most aren't connecting. The reason Josh Connolly Jr. looked so competent in his NFL debut wasn't just his natural talent. It was because John Bates gave help at exactly the right moments. Connolly faced 31 pass rush attempts on Sunday. In 12 of those, Bates chipped in before release to a route. In those 12 plays, Connolly had 0 pressures allowed. In the other 19 plays without help, he had 2 pressures. The difference is dramatic. Against the Packers, where they're going to directly attack Connolly's inexperience, Bates is literally going to be the difference between our rookie tackle surviving or being completely destroyed. Now here comes the part that truly excites me about Bates. He's developing as a receiver in a way no one expected. On Sunday against the Giants, he had only 2 receptions, but both were in high leverage situations. One on 3rd and 7, another on 2nd and goal. His route running has improved exponentially. He's running comeback routes with precision, his slants are crispy, and his hand catching is reliable. He's not going to be Travis Kelce, but he can be a Jason Witten, the type of tight end that's always available when you need 6 to 8 yards. Here's why I think Bates is going to have his breakout game against the Packers. His playing style is exactly what we need to neutralize their aggressive pass rush. The Packers blitz 31.2% of the time, the 4th highest rate in the league. When they blitz, you need tight ends that can pick up the extra rusher and release for quick routes. Bates can do both on the same play. More importantly, Jeff Hafley, the Packers defensive coordinator, has never faced a tight end with Bates' specific skill set. It's going to take at least a quarter to adjust, and that early advantage could be decisive. Do you remember Dallas Clark with Peyton Manning's Colts? Clark was never the tight end with the most receptions in the league, but he was absolutely crucial for that offense to function because he could do everything. Block, run routes, create mismatches. Bates is on the same path. He's not going to have 1,000 receiving yards, but he's going to be the piece allowing Jaden Daniels, Terry McLaurin, and our running backs the space and time they need to be great. My specific prediction for Bates against the Packers: 4 receptions, 52 yards, 1 touchdown, and most importantly, 15 perfect blocks, resulting in 0 sacks allowed from his side of the field. The touchdown will come in a red zone situation where the Packers blitz. Bates picks up the rusher, delays for 1.5 seconds, then releases for a quick slant that Jaden will perfectly place. Family, after analyzing these 3 situations in detail, here's my final verdict on what's going to happen Thursday night at Lambeau Field. If Tress Way can play, if Laramie Tunsil dominates as we hope, and if John Bates continues to be that X-Factor analysts overlook, we have a real chance to go to Green Bay and make a statement win that changes our entire season's narrative. But if any of these 3 situations fail, if Way can't play and Wisnowski makes errors, if Tunsil allows Parsons or Gary to dominate him, or if Bates can't protect Connolly Jr., then we're in serious trouble. The difference between being real contenders and being another team that promises but doesn't deliver will be decided in these details most people aren't even considering. What do you think? Are we ready for this moment, or are we about to find out we still lack development? Leave me your predictions in the comments, because this community always has insights that help me see the game from new perspectives. If this analysis blew your mind as much as writing it did mine, give it a like, subscribe, and get ready, because Thursday's going to be historic one way or another. Hail to the Commanders, family!